So I'm with Sharon Henry, one of our UCE coaching clients, and I love Sharon's story because she has a really powerful message, and that is that for a lot of us it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to address the real issues that cause you to gain weight. They can be mental, emotional, physical. They can be related to your digestion, sleep, medication, many different things, and it takes time to piece by piece address them. And with Sharon, what we did was we addressed them one at a time in a really effective manner, and she's doing great now. So I just wanted to bring her in and have a quick chat. Sharon, how are you doing?
Doing really good. Although you have to know that I'm only like halfway to goal yet.
Okay.
I mean, my ideal person is still happening.
All right, well, you look fabulous, and I'm happy to have you on here. And so just tell me a little bit about how it was in the beginning, where you were and where you are now.
Okay. Where I started,
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started GM, I had just been on on a diet for about a year, and I'd lost 110 pounds, and I started gaining, and already gained about 70 back. And the diet that I was on was as the I mean I was desperate at that point. I was 320, and I was desperate, and I went on this diet where you drank, and what I had I'd have four soy mocha protein powders dumped in 2 pots of coffee, and I'd have either 4 to 6 20-ounce diet Pepsis, and
Oh,
that's what I
no.
had all day. And then I would have a piece of chicken, a half a cup of vegetables, and a piece of fruit. And then at night you could have another soy chocolate bar. And that was the diet, and that's what I ate for a year.
Yeah.
And I know you had lipo shots and diet pills. So every week I would have 2 shots, and I would have a diet pill. And I lost all that weight, but then I was still eating like that, and I started gaining instead of losing. So I lost 110 pounds, and I started gaining, and I started gaining really fast. So then I went to Weight Watchers at the same time. So I'm still enrolled in this because I bought like a cajillion packets of soy powder, and I wanted to use them up. And I started Weight Watchers, and I was trying to see if I could transition to Weight Watchers. So I filled up my freezer with Smart Choices and Lean Cuisines and 2% bars, and my whole house was Weight Watchers. Everything was Weight Watchers. And I found you on, I don't know, some program. And you were talking about the 21-day meditation, so I decided to try that. So at one point I was on 3 diets. I thought I was on Weight Watchers, my soy protein, and my shots, and my diet pills, and I started into our meditation program. Before I even got onto the forum or anything else, I saw the UCE, and there were 300. You had 300 slots, and there were only 15 left.
Yeah.
And I filled out that form, and I waited for that answer. And it was like there was no hope left. I mean, there was no hope left. And I was ready for something. I had to do something. And I got that, and I have to say, I read that letter that said I was accepted. I mean, I kept reading it, and I cried. I was so grateful that there was maybe something that was going to help me at that point. Because I knew I was gaining, and I knew what happens when you gain. I mean, I was 320 when I started. I could see it right around the corner, and I could go right beyond it. And that was what I was scared of.
Right, and as we talk about a lot of times, diets don't address the real issue, and especially a diet like that has soy, which can cause inflammation and insulin resistance, and diet soda, which also can cause insulin and leptin resistance and cause you to gain weight. So I remember when I first started, what's that?
And coffee, 2 pots of
Yeah.
coffee a day.
And so I remember when I first started talking to you, I don't know if you remember this, but I said the first thing we want to do is I don't want to talk about losing weight right now because you're coming off of the rebound of a diet, and I want to get to that stable place. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I
Yeah.
do remember that. And concurrently to that, I called you on Ask John.
Yeah.
And it was like I didn't know I was in yet, and you nailed it. And I hadn't read the book yet, and so you started asking those questions, and you said, "What happened when you were about 4 or 5?" And I said, "What? Pardon?"
Yeah.
All I remember is saying "pardon." Every time you asked me a question, it was like, "What is he asking me about?"
Yeah.
4 or 5, okay, pardon. And we started looking at, from the get-go, we started looking at emotional obesity issues.
Yeah.
And Yes.
And that was I just remember that was really important for you because we had to get to the root cause. And if you recall, you kept wanting to talk about food, you kept wanting to talk about exercise because
Yeah.
that's your conditioning, of the diet sodas and the 2%
Oh, yeah.
bars and the lean cuisines. We used to eat lean cuisines when I was a kid too. We had microwaved lean cuisines. I remember those. But but you kept wanting to do that, and I don't know if you remember. I said, "Look, let's not talk at all about
Right.
food right now."
Don't talk about food at
Yeah.
all.
Do
You
you
said, don't want to talk about food at all.
remember
And I
that?
said,
Yeah.
okay. And I was sort of shocked about that, but it was made, and what was happening was I was hungry for, I was hungry for what we had to do. And in my mind, it was like, you know how in your book, I think you say I was a receptive student and my body became an efficient teacher. I'm
Yeah, I remember
reading the
that.
book again now, and
Yeah.
that has meaning to me now.
Yeah.
But then didn't have meaning because I was so disconnected from my body.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I meditated. I was a meditator for a long time. But even then, I asked you about that because I would meditate and I would know how to feel incredible in a meditation. But it was like I would know how to get to the top floor of the elevator, but I had no idea of how to connect that together.
Yeah.
And as we started working, it was because I did what we call disassociation, and that wasn't quite meditation. It was a kind of meditation, but I would disconnect from my body and disconnect from my thoughts and disconnect and just know how to get out of myself, but not how to get back in again.
Right.
And so I started working with Melinda. And one of the big things we worked on was that disassociation and bringing those pieces of who I was back to my body again so that I could start to integrate.
Right.
And what came back was a whole lot of abuse issues that I'd never looked at before. So that was pretty
And
intense.
that was really important. And so we worked through the abuse issues. That's what we stayed focused on. And we got to a place where your weight was stable. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Or
I do. I
and,
went down and up for a while, and then it started to stay.
and then we got to a place where it's stable, sustainable, and that's when we started talking about food, but not really in terms of diet and
You never
2%
talked-
and
you didn't talk about food. You kept telling me not to worry about that. I mean,
yeah,
you did keep. I kept talking about
yeah,
food,
yeah,
and you kept saying, "Don't worry about that." And Heather's. I mean, my coach for nutrition was Heather, and she also, let's not talk about that. Even my first session with Heather was, this is not where we need to go. Just don't worry about this. Let's
yeah,
talk. Coconut oil's fine. You want to use coconut oil? That's fine.
yeah,
But let's just relax a little bit. And what I think was really amazing, because even though I wasn't focusing on it, I was trying to do the big three and all that stuff. And I also had a leaky gut. I mean, that was
yeah,
another issue that was coming up. But the program itself is designed to address that without even thinking about it.
yeah.
I mean, you're taking your probiotics, you're taking the digestive enzymes. I used HCl because you added that as an idea. And then I think that, and Heather gave me some pointers at some point farther down about how to monitor what food I was eating to see if it was resonating in my body properly. Because I had also been on Prilosec for about 8 years, which is a proton
Pump
inhibitor,
inhibitor,
which holds back the acid in your stomach.
yeah.
And
Right.
again, another
And we
choice
went
that,
the exact opposite, and we said let's add some more acid because
yeah.
the lack of acid is affecting your digestion, and that's causing the problem. And that was a huge turning point for you, I remember.
I mean, I was sick.
Yeah,
I called you and said I'm so sick from that. My stomach is sick, and that's when we started working on that stuff. And I had added a couple sessions with Heather at that point.
yeah,
And I was just thinking one of the other things that was really important through all of that is that I began writing on the members forum. I mean, right then we didn't have Facebook forum, and I like your Facebook forum, but I love your members
yeah, yeah,
forum.
yeah.
I mean, I really I found it that I made a little place where I would just write. I mean, I started writing in the regular places, but I was so filled with emotion and so much stuff going on that I couldn't stay. I mean, I was nice to other people and I was supportive of their movement, but I always ended up back in my own issues. So I started a little thread that was my own little place, and I would just write what was going on, and it was so comforting, and I never had that before because you have fellow travelers when you're with GM, and it was so comforting to have friends who got what I was talking about. I mean,
Right.
even things like being the last one picked for a game, and actually when you were on a team when you were little, all those little tiny things add up to adopting the fat program and choosing to hold on to weight so that you could be safe.
Yeah.
And I was really invested in being safe. I was
Yeah.
invested full-heartedly, and it made sense as we got. It was I saw that I read some of the posts before we got here, and I saw that by about 4 months I was starting to get the idea that these issues that we're working on are the issues, and they are. I mean, I didn't get what you said. You told me not to worry about diets. I think every time I talked to you, I was worrying about the diet again. And you think, no, let's talk about. And I listened to you because I couldn't listen to my own body at that time, and I needed to get help from somebody. And so I adopted you. I mean, you were my teacher. You
Yeah.
are my teacher.
Yeah.
And the UCE, every one of you guys, you said use the support while you got it.
Yeah.
And I appreciated it so much because I didn't have a relationship to my body yet.
Yeah, but you did the work, you did the real work, and the real work was working through all those emotional issues. And then a certain point came around where I did say to you, because I didn't want you to exercise in the beginning because I felt like it was too much stress on your body because you needed to do this work. I didn't want you to worry about food too much. I just wanted you to do the work, and you did the work, and then you started adding healthier foods, and you really adopted those principles of healthy food almost on your own, not through anything I said or maybe the work that you did with Heather, but you really adopted them, and your diet is beautiful now in a very kind of natural way. And then at a certain point, I remember saying, okay, you're ready. Let's talk about some ways of being moving, of doing some fitness type of stuff, and you really embraced that, and that's when I thought to myself, okay, she's gone through the issues.
Actually,
Yeah.
the first time you brought it up, you said, "Why can't you just get an exercise bike and sit on it?"
Is that what I said?
I wasn't ready to do any
Or
exercise.
just to create like an associate. Yeah, just that's how I started. Really, actually, I just sat on it. It's exactly how I started too.
If you feel like pedaling, pedal.
Yeah.
If you don't, it's okay.
But you embraced that principle, and then you started being physically active. And then I remember thinking, okay, at this point, she's addressed the real issues, and she's eating really well, she's healed her digestion, she's worked through the emotions, and now she's starting to become physically active, and it's not an effort for her. Her body.
That was 6 months in.
Yeah, and then I thought to myself, her body now wants to be thin. I should be getting a call from her. She should be telling me that. And then that's just when you called me and you said you were starting to lose weight. Is that right?
Yeah, you were really pleased. I hit that point where I don't know, it was like almost instantly where sitting on the bike wasn't enough, or pushing the cart fast through the grocery store wasn't enough, and all of a sudden I was biking for the first time in 30 years. And this is something you don't know, but it's very, very cool. And I run now. I do Tabata and I run. And I've never run in years and years and years. And I have gone to I've lived in West Michigan, which is right on Lake Michigan, for 20 years. And I have gone to the beach to walk my dog and do Tabata more times in this summer than I've done in all the 20 years I've lived here.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, I had to caution you at one point about overtraining, that was the real.
I was liking.
I had to pull you back because I was worried you're going to overtrain.
I can really move.
Yeah.
I mean, I can move.
Last time we talked, you've now, so not only, you went from a place where you were gaining to a place where you're sustainable, to a place where you're not dieting anymore, at least in a forceful kind of way. Not dieting. And last I heard you had lost about 35 pounds or something like that. 45 pounds. That's
I'm like
fabulous.
around 45 pounds down, and that's in like 4 months, because it wasn't until 8 months. Honestly, it was 8 months of not losing weight, but just.
But we had to turn the situation around. We had to address the real issue. We had to undo. There's a lot of damage being done by diet soda and soy, protein shakes, and all the emotional stuff. We had to undo all that. But the great thing is, and I've had this. We have one lady who is a coach of ours who lost over 200 pounds. It took her years, but she never has to worry anymore. She addressed it, and that's where you are. It's really, really sustainable. You love the food that you eat, right? Am I right about that?
I do.
You don't feel like you measure it or count it or restrict it. Am I right about that?
What you called it effortless, and I honestly think that it's even more than effortless, because it's sort of integrated into who I am now. It's like it's me. It's me.
It's me. It's you in the sense that your body now wants to be thin, that's the whole point of what we're trying to do. And sometimes it takes a lot of work, which you did. Not work in terms of getting up every morning and running 20 miles work, but work in terms of addressing what the real issues are. And you did that work, and now your body wants to be thin. And that to me is exactly why we do what we do. And that's why I love your story so much.
You know, but I was talking to one of the other people in UC that's a friend of mine now, and it's that GM is about getting through to all that stuff, and I've never loved myself more. It's a love story. GM's a love story, but the love story is with yourself, and really coming to terms with all those places where you disconnected and for good reason. I mean, all the things that I did were because I wanted to be safe, and you needed to be safe, and I chose putting on weight because I was a wonderful, smart little kid who didn't know what else to do, and I did that. And now I don't have to do that anymore.
It's a great story. I'd like to continue to follow you if I can. I just think that you're a true inspiration.
I'm back in UCE. I decided I'm going through another, I'm rereading your book, and I'm doing it slowly and deliberately, and I'm seeing that I'm learning so much again that I just wanted to plug back into UCE, so I plugged back in.
Excellent.
For a while now. I'm choosing it.
Okay.
I think that people should understand that it really isn't going to happen like that necessarily for everybody, and that it's really, really worth it. It's really worth it.
It's so worth it, because once you put the time in, and once you've changed yourself on a hormonal level, emotional level, mental, physical level, once you've made those changes, you've got a new body, and like you say, a new life, a new mind. Everything changes. So I agree with you. Excellent. All right, well, Sharon, thanks so much for sharing your story and for being such a fabulous inspiration and for doing such incredible work. And I'll just say, for those of you that are listening, if you want to learn more about our coaching, which is called UCE, Ultimate Coaching Experience, you can go to thegabrielmethod.com/UCE. And if you have any questions or comments, you can post them here, and we'll talk to you all real soon. Thanks very much. Sharon, thank you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Good care. It was good talking to you.